let's go ahead and see what's going on. I don't know why I just had the image of somebody being like stuck in a loop of conflict in their connections. And I feel like they're stuck in a trauma loop or something like that. And I kind of got the image of you like going on a carnival ride and getting off. Like, yeah, that was fun. I almost got stuck in that. You have to maybe display your self-sufficiency and remain independent and be very single because you just could not partake in that. I do feel that. Tell me about who this reading is for, Spirit. King of Wands, you come off as a leader. You come off as very confident, very strong, very dominant, not in a bad way, but I do think that you demand respect, but you also give respect. You know how to lead. You know how to run a home and call the shots. You know how to make things happen. People do look up to you. Tell me about the other person. Emotionally unavailable. Runs from emotional connections. Wheel of Fortune. They are in a loop. I knew it. They're stuck in a loop. Being emotionally unavailable. Why did they choose this dominant person? Trying to avoid a tower. But you avoided the tower. You avoided the tower. Yeah, this was not a good connection. This was not a good connection. My God. Yeah, it's like they, I don't know why my right eye's itching. That's weird. Maybe they just want you to see it from one point of view. This almost was what I split the deck to, being emotionally fulfilled and happy, and sort of spirit giving you an opportunity to have your cup sort of filled, and you being very emotionally content and happy. And then this fell out right on top of it, so I couldn't even get to that. They're sort of actively blocking off their emotional fulfillment by being clueless and not seeing it for what it really is. That's the truth. That light's gonna bother me. There's a lot of sort of mental fog around them. There's sort of some illusions going on within them. There's a lot kind of being kept under the surface that they don't necessarily see. They think that they are like emotionally mature and regulated, but really what it is they are so reserved and so not genuine and inauthentic that they just don't speak on what they really feel, so they end up bottling everything up. This is coming out at the bottom of the deck. This is someone who is very emotional. They're actually emotionally unstable. They like to view themselves as emotionally mature, but they're really not. They just don't speak about emotions at all. But it's really brewing under the surface, and it kind of comes out in different ways. They definitely do not play well with others. They don't make for a good employee. They don't make for a good leader. They can't work in groups because they are always trying to maybe compete, or there's always conflict surrounding them. There's always something that's kind of going on under the surface that sort of spills out. There's maybe this persona or mask of happiness and sort of a light, an uplifting light, but they can't access it right now. That's actually a very fake situation, and it's like they can't actually find happiness because they want to continue to appear as if they're in control, and that they are maybe always trying to control others, come off dominant, come off controlling, but it's really just them trying to control their inner chaos. Yeah, you may have known this person for a while, or they have maybe been doing this for a while. I don't get that you've known them that long, because I don't think you would have even gotten on that carnival ride had you known. You would have already known. High Priestess, you're coming out as High Priestess. You have an inner knowing about you. You could see the maybe pattern recognition of what this person displayed. There was just one too many red flags. I think you understood that that's not something you wanted to be a part of. I do sense that. Something they did maybe got exposed by you, just kind of knowing, having an inner knowing. sort of recognizing the red flags and not ignoring them, especially for that sort of red flag to be displayed so early on in the connection. You kind of noticed something very impulsive about them, very chaotic, very unplanned, very aggressive, something that they did that they didn't really, they maybe didn't do anything too huge, but it was a little off the beaten path, should I say. My left ear's on fire, that's feminine energy. So they could be talking about you, possibly to another female, or they may be female. Something that they did really was a red flag for you, because if you really think about it, you were like, wow, that was kind of weird. And to you, you've seen somebody do that before or something similar to that, and it really reminded you of something that there's a deeper meaning, there's a deeper issue. It just was kind of, it lacked boundaries. It's reminding me of one time I was dating this guy, and I had my purse on the dresser, and we were hanging out, and I was like, oh, I need to grab my chapstick, and he's like, here you go. And he just got it, and I was like, why did you just go in my purse? He's like, no, I just saw it sticking out of the top. I don't care. That was weird. That was weird. Don't do that. I don't know why you did that. That was weird. No, that I had to, no, that was weird. Why were you so comfortable doing that? You better act like you don't know it. If I didn't even ask you to touch my purse, that was weird. This person is sort of maybe trying to stronghold something. They're trying to appear strong, but it's really their weakness oozing out. They think that chaos or something like that, or being aggressive equals strength, but really you would need all the strength in the world to deal with somebody like this. They could be a Leo, you could be a Leo. Yeah, so this did not fall out, it just flipped. That's a huge sign. This is what they maybe view themselves as, like a master manifestor, or very capable of kind of creating the life that they want and making things happen for themselves. But the truth is they're really not there. That's not really what they are. That's what they think they are. Maybe what they have the potential to be later, maybe what they're attracted to, maybe what they present themselves as. That's not in its fullness. That's not the big picture. That's not the full extent of what's going on here. They're really probably manipulative, or even in reverse, unable to manifest good things for themselves. Now I see strength at the bottom. Very weak. I mean, strength was an issue. They were holding on for dear life, and I think you would have been too had you tried to partake in that. They try to balance too many things and they drop the ball, but really in the end it's just coming off as like busy chaos. It's not really, they don't really have any responsibilities other than the ones that they don't take care of, the ones they don't tend to. They sort of maybe have a double life where they're maybe trying to juggle more than one thing, more than one person, more than one personality, more than one persona, more than one mask, more than one family life, more than one situation, more than one story, more than one truth. I mean, they're balancing something and dropping the ball on a regular basis, and it's very obvious. If you didn't see it the first time you met them, you saw it shortly after. That they're very dependent on others. They are not independent. They're not self-sufficient. They are very clingy, and they are very needy. They don't know how to be alone. They can't be alone. They would never know the first thing about being alone. They think that makes them weak to be alone, but that's the exact opposite. They actually can't stand on their own 2 feet without somebody supporting them, whether it be emotionally, financially, physically, spiritually. They're very dependent on others. They think that makes them look awesome to always be in a relationship and kind of jump from person to person, but they have no idea how weak that makes them look. And for somebody like you that's upright, 9 of Pentacles and King of Wands and Magician, probably not them, you knew immediately. This being at the bottom of the deck, codependent, that's not even what you're gonna be a part of. Why can't you stand on your own? Why can't you be independent? Because they're trapped and they're confused. They're trapped in their head. They're also very mentally unstable, very emotionally unstable, clingy and bitter, and very vengeful, very envious, very emotional. They do not know how to regulate their emotions properly, and they rely on others to carry their burden for them. They're very burdened. They go from relationship to relationship feeling burdened, and they expect others to do the work for them and for them to get the credit for doing that. they would never know how to be self-sufficient within themselves at all. At all. Still, burdens that they're not willing to acknowledge, them holding on for dear life. Thinking that they're strong because they carry all this unnecessary shit, but it really just makes them confused. It's time for them to sort of face themselves. I think you leaving them so abruptly and so quickly with no need for an explanation is kind of what happened, and it kind of made them maybe feel judged by you, but more importantly, they need to face themselves. I think that the universe was not going to allow you to be with somebody like this. They really need to face themselves at this point. Still at the bottom of the deck. What is this that's sticking out? This karmic loop. They don't want to admit it. They don't see it. They don't know it. They may not know it. They may not see it. They may. One more card, Spirit. Yeah, this person is going nowhere fast. They lack direction, but more importantly, they're being stopped and sat down by the Spirit. I'm telling you. It just fell out right on top of Judgment. They're going nowhere fast. They're too chaotic and they're too directionless. They don't have direction or any plan as to what they're doing with their life. They move very carelessly, and now they can't move at all. Whatever they're doing, they're being sat down. This is wanting to come out. This is what they think that they have the option to get, but they're not going to have that until they face themselves and sit down for a little bit and try to figure out what all these burdens are that they're carrying around that's kind of making them so emotionally unstable. So this is not an option right now. That was just sticking out at out of the top of the deck. That's maybe what they're thinking about. Maybe what they're trying to achieve. They don't have the tools in their toolbox to be able to achieve that right now. That cycle needs to end before they can move forward. And I do think you're the catalyst for that. Yeah, they cannot manipulate their way out of this one. You would have been the next victim had you fallen for whatever they were presenting, had you bought what they were selling, had you agreed to whatever they pitched to you. Yeah, wow. 8 of Wands in reverse. They have been stopped. You stopped that shit very quick. They can hold on all they want, but your strength made them know how weak they really were. They can't be as inconsistent as they've been. They can't move slow like they've been moving. They do feel very sad right now, but that's to be expected. They need to actually sit down and feel their feelings. They can't outrun this one. Wow. They are in isolation right now. They are being put in an energetic pause, in a timeout, if you will. As stubborn as they've been about not changing, as stubborn as Spirit is going to be with the gifts and opportunities that are available. They won't be available. They can either choose to hold on or let go. I mean, they are going to be forced to not be so dependent and not be so bitter and sharp and actually not know what the hell they're talking about. Because, I mean, yeah, they can fight it all they want, but Spirit says no. No, we're not going to be doing that. They're going to have to really get through these illusions independently and literally stop fighting. Literally. I think that's it. You will continue to be fine. You'll continue to search for happiness and stand in your authenticity and your power. Find your match. Queen of Wands and King of Wands. But it won't be them. Ever. Ever. Once again, could be a Leo. Keep splitting the deck to that. You were the one that sort of balanced out their life for them unknowingly. But you did the right thing. You definitely passed that test, because that would have been quite the situation for you. But you've learned, you know better. You know better.